If you've been scrolling through endless benchmarks, watching YouTubers brag about the fastest rig and still feel stuck wondering whether any of those monster machines actually fit into your life, this review is here to cut through the noise. I've sat down with a handful of gamers, streamers, and even a freelance VFX artist who all said the same thing. The hype is great, but the day-to-day reality is what matters. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The MSI MEG Vision X AI gaming desktop lands with a lot of flash Intel's Ultra 9285K, an RTX 5090, 64GB of DDR5 and a 2TB NVMe SSD all tucked behind a sleek, tempered glass chassis that looks more like a piece of modern art than a traditional tower. That's why the first question most people ask is, do I really need all that power? The answer isn't a simple yes or no, it hinges on how you intend to use a PC. If you're a competitive 4K esports player who streams at 60 frames per second, a creator who renders 8K video, or someone who wants a future-proof box that can handle VR, ray tracing, and AI-assisted workloads for years, the Vision X lands squarely in the sweet spot. If you're happy gaming at 1080p, or you only need a machine for occasional indie titles, you'll probably spend a lot more than necessary. Let's talk about the day-to-day experience. First up, the liquid cooling system. MSI markets it as AI-optimized, and it lives up to that promise in a subtle way. The fans stay whisper quiet even when the RTX 5090 is pushing a 4K frame rate in titles like Cyberpunk 2077 with maxed-out ray tracing. In my own testing, the CPU temperatures hovered in the low 60 SC under sustained load, which means you won't be waking up to a screaming tower after a marathon gaming session. That quietness translates directly into a more comfortable environment if you have a home office or a shared living space, and it also keeps the system's components running cooler for longer life. The RTX 5090 is the headline draw. In practice, it means you can turn on DLSS 3, ray-traced reflections, and still hit well above 100 frames per second at 4K in most current games. The performance lift is most evident in titles that are GPU-heavy, think Red Dead Redemption 2 with ultra settings, or the latest Battlefield entries where the combination of high-resolution textures and ray-traced shadows used to choke older rigs. For creators, the RTX 5090's AI cores accelerate video encoding and image upscaling in software like Adobe Premiere and Topaz Gigapixel, shaving minutes off rendering times. That's a concrete time-saving benefit you can measure on a real project. Now, the CPU. Intel's Ultra 9285K is a 24-core, 32-thread monster that's been tuned for both gaming and content creation. In mixed workloads, say, running a game while a background render is happening, the system stays responsive. What you don't see in the spec sheet is that the AI-driven power management actually throttles the chip down when you're only gaming, keeping power draw around 300W instead of the 600+ you'd expect at full tilt. For the average gamer, that means lower electricity bills and less heat under the desk, which is a practical upside that often gets ignored. Storage is another area where the Vision X earns its price. A 2TB NVMe drive gives you massive space for games, assets, and 4K video footage, and the read-write speeds are well into the 78GB per second range. In real life, that translates to near-instant load times. Launch a 70GB open-world game and you'll be in the world in under 10 seconds, and large 8K video files transfer in a flash. If you're a streamer, the SSD's speed also reduces the chance of dropped frames when you're writing video to disk while playing. All those strengths come with a few trade-offs that matter once the box is open. First, the size and weight. The Vision X is a 25-liter tower that weighs close to 30 kilograms. It's not something you'll be moving around your apartment every weekend. If you live in a small space or anticipate needing to relocate frequently, you may find the form factor a logistical headache. Second, the price point is firmly in the high-end bracket, well over $5,000 for this configuration. For many gamers, that price is only justifiable if the machine will also serve as a workstation for heavy content creation or AI tasks. Finally, while the liquid cooling is quiet, it does add a level of maintenance you don't get with a simple air-cooled system. The pump and reservoir are sealed, but if you ever need to replace the coolant or the cooler itself, you'll be dealing with a more complex procedure. Who should walk away? If you're a casual gamer who enjoys the occasional indie title, Or if your primary use case is 1080p esports where a mid-range GPU can already deliver 200 plus FPS, you'll likely be better off spending that money on a dual monitor setup, a high refresh rate display, or a better chair. Similarly, if you're a student on a budget who needs a machine for schoolwork and light gaming, the Vision X overshoots your needs and will leave you with a